alive! It's alive! You're here, and I'm queer, and welcome back to my channel.
What is that accent? Happy Halloween to you all, and for this spooky season, I will be bringing you a little bit of vintage, a little bit of monster, and lots of glamour. I will be making Barbie as Frankie Stein from Monster High, where students' bodies lie. If you guys haven't seen it yet, Mattel is actually collaborating two of their icons into one. And that is, of course, classic Barbie and Frankie Stein from Monster High. I really love how it is a homage to the 1959 original Barbie swimsuit and Solo in the spotlight. Before the official announcement, I was actually hoping we would get a Barbie doll as Frankie Stein. I felt like that would have been exciting and really fun. But since that wasn't the case, I want to do my big one and make it happen. Overall, I want to combine the aesthetics of a classic Barbie doll and Frankie Stein from both G1 and G3. They'll have the glamour from Barbie and the ghoulish edge from Frankie Stein. I wanted Barbie Frankie... Wait, or is it Farbie? Or is it Branky? Of course, I want to give them the 1959 original swimsuit as well that Barbie had. I wanted to heavily reference vintage Mugler, of course, and Fredericks of Hollywood's vintage lingeries. Of course, a vintage 50s ponytail and poodle bangs is much needed, along with the black and white coiffeur. I also wanted to give them G3 Frankie's robot leg to make them extra voltagious, down to the vintage lightning mules. I am so excited to take you all to this fantastic journey, but before we head over to Malibu, or is it Wisconsin? This video is part of a scare-tastic collaboration. Okay, I'm done. But yes, this video is part of a classic Halloween special with talented doll artists like Delightful, Electric Bunny VT, Enchantarium, HLE Crafts, I Could Do That DIY, Jackie O, Steffu Dolls, and Valkyrie's World. Everyone created one-of-a-kind Halloween-themed dolls, so please check them out. And all of their links will be in the description below. Now let's start with this creation. I will be using 3 dolls for this project. The true Frankenstein method, I guess. I know this may be overkill, but the body, the face, the pose, it all matters for the overall look. At least for me. I could have gone for the classic, vintage Barbie doll. I really want them to look like a fashion croquis, especially the ones by Robert Bess. And it's also my go-to pose when it comes to drag. Like, this is not it. Like... But this... This... Bam, bam, bam! You know what I mean? Like, it's just... Gunner, you know what I mean? The nuances of this pose is so important for me. I want to make sure that this doll has it. Let's go ahead and pretty much start taking body parts apart from each doll. I am really fortunate that I already have all of these dolls in my stash, so I didn't have to buy anything. And I don't know why this one in particular is missing an arm. I don't remember, but hey, I thought it was perfect. Now, because I do want to give her some arm articulation, because to me that is quite important for dolls, I do want to go ahead and cut this one off and also add the hanger bolts in there, which is what I always do. If you guys have been here for a while, you've seen me do this so many times, so I'm doing the same exact thing. Now, because we are giving them the robot leg, let's go ahead and cut off the left leg as well. And I actually added epoxy and also wire that is wrapped in tape. Now this wire, I'm actually going to leave this alone, and I want the robot leg to be removable and semi-articulated in a way, like the nuance of like bending it and moving it very, very slightly. I think it will have a really good impact for photos and so on. So we're hoping that this will last. Now let's go ahead and prepare the doll head. I want to remove all of this hair so we can have a clean canvas to work on. Because I'm changing the overall skin, I want to make sure that I can prevent the face paint from cracking. Since we're using a flexible vinyl head, and the reproduction Barbie heads are super squishy, it's kind of insane. I want to make sure to prevent that squish from happening. I fill the inside of the head with a shell of epoxy sculpt to kind of solidify like this area. Of course, I'm going to leave this part of the neck hole area without the clay so that it still has some flexibility for it to go to the neck peg. But overall, the squishing of this part, especially the face up, I feel like it will be prevented. I usually do this method if I am changing the color of the skin for the head. I did this with both of my Ursula dolls. I did this with Penelope Featherington, and now we're doing it with Branky Farbie. While waiting, let's go ahead and work on the body modifications. The model muse is so perfect for my vision as it really poses like a true fashion model. For the entire vision to look really good, I do want to go ahead and cover all of the seam lines for her legs. I am also enhancing her behind just for a little bit more of curves and also her chest area. Now I am sculpting her cleavage very, very specifically because I do want to give her kind of like the shelf bra look. So it's definitely going to be defying gravity. Frankie Barbie will actually have a sculpted bathing suit. Since I'm going for a really strong, structured look, sculpting it would be the best route. Because we're doing a Mugler-inspired look, I do want to exaggerate the hips and give it kind of like the shelf look or like the hip panel look. A lot of Mugler looks are very, very drastic and very exaggerated, so doing this for the hips will really sell the look without me modifying the doll's waistline. I have these two shapes that I cut off, and they're going to be the decoration, the main decoration for the swimsuit, and I am just tracing them onto Warbler. I think this will really help sell the illusion that they are wearing a swimsuit or like a corset bodysuit, and also because of the shape of it and everything, it's very edgy, it's very like angular, and it's just very exaggerated. I also wanted to make sure that the pointy parts, like these ones, I don't know honestly what they're called, but I want to make sure that they're out, they're exaggerated, and they're just really, really dramatic. And this is what we have going on so far. Now, to really blend them into the overall look and really sell the factor that they are like a swimsuit like clothing, I do want to go ahead and sculpt the hemlines, finish them off like the finishing touches to really sell the illusion. Depending on the fabrication you're going for, you can even add wrinkles and all of that, but I want this to look really tight and really structured. We do have some 3D printed parts for this custom. I just cannot escape 3D printing now. Nothing too crazy, but very, very important. I also want to say a huge thank you to Resi1 for gifting me some special resins to try out. I believe this resin is meant for BJDs and should overall be wear resistant. So let's put that to the test. As always, I make sure to print out multiple parts just because I always tend to break my prints. And sometimes, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if I overexpose it. There's so many factors, you know? And I want to say thank you to Taylor Monster Kid, of course, for 3D sculpting them. I asked them to make the robot leg, the heels, and also the glasses. I wanted to make sure that the robot leg actually matches the aesthetic of a Model Muse Barbie leg. And Hello Monster Kid really did their big one on this. So thank you so much. I'm actually quite shocked how strong the resin is so far. I know I didn't use it for doll joints and parts specifically, but I think the heels and glasses are a pretty good test since they have the delicate pieces that can easily snap. So I think Resi1 is onto something with this formula, and I cannot wait to actually use them for like a doll body. So thank you again to Resi1 for sending me these. I am super thankful, and I really appreciate the consideration. Now I'm gonna go ahead and attach the heel to their feet. Now I could have asked Hello Monster Kid to actually make this removable, but I know that it's going to be a permanent like shoe for them anyway. Like I'm not gonna remove them, and honestly, because it is a mule, like it's gonna come off super easily. And if we were to make them removable, it would have added an extra layer of technicalities with the 3D sculpting and 3D printing of it all. So I'm like, I'm going to glue them anyway, so I'd rather just sculpt the actual strap on as well. Now it's time to finally sand everything, sand the bodysuit, sand the body modification, sand some of the shoes. Like, we are just doing a lot of sanding. And of course, my custom Frankie Stein is here to inspire me and support me. Now let's work on their hair using acrylic yarn. I made black, white, and black and white wefts, just to be sure. It's always so satisfying seeing them prepared and like straightened, but honestly, I did not need all of these. At least we have that for the future. I'm pretty much just gluing hair on the perimeter of the wig cap. This is going to be a true vintage Barbie ponytail style where everything else is not filled in and it's only the perimeter. And because honestly, we can't do too much or else it's gonna look way too thick. There was a point when I was making the wig that it was kind of giving Cruella de Vil because of the solid white streaks, which obviously I love. Hello, but it does need to be a little bit more Frankie Stein coated, so I ended up blending the black and the white a little bit more. Because yarn hair can actually be very, very short, I am doing my extension technique that I've done before. You can also check out my Fluttershy custom for this technique, but I pretty much glued wefts like layered by layer to achieve the longer weft look, to achieve the longer ponytail. So we are just going to attach this to our existing ponytail. Of course, this isn't the most ideal way to make a ponytail, but because I'm working with yarn and because I want to work with yarn, you know, we got to do some finessing. But we took this from 3 inches to 7 inches. So that's really, really great. I mean, we're going to be curling it anyway, but at least now we have lots of hair to work with. I heated up my metallic rat tail comb and I'm just making tiny, tiny curls for their poodle bangs. After you're done, you kind of want to just unravel the curls a little bit strategically and kind of post them in a way to really emulate the vintage poodle bangs. Now for the ponytail, I am just under curling everything with my heated metal chopstick, and I'm just trying to make sure that they are very, very like curly and very like heated. I want them to really have tight curls for it to hold the vintage ponytail hairstyle. As you can see, I even put pins all over the poodle bangs just to make sure that I am hairspraying them in place where I want them to go. Oh my god, the hair looks super, super, super good. I am super obsessed. I really love the poodle bangs, which honestly kind of made me nervous at first, and the vintage ponytail, which also kind of made me nervous at first, because I was really super specific trying to get the shape down. Now let's get back to the body. Okay. Last minute idea. So this is going to be a simple project, so it's good for you mentally, physically, and emotionally. Part of me really hates where this is going, but the extra in me loves it! I am super, super excited because initially I only planned for the classic bathing suit look for Frankie Barbie. But I was like, why not tackle the solo in the spotlight look as well? Like, why not? How fun would that be? How glamorous would that be? The added stress in this tight deadline, I love it so much. Because of the sculpted bodysuit, I knew that I had to work with that as a base, which honestly wasn't too far-fetched with how I like my vintage dresses anyways. I like them really structured, I like them drapey. It definitely would need some finessing in terms of planning, construction, and styling. I want to go ahead and make a pattern using this tape, and this will be the additional bodice pattern that will go on top of the corset. Of course, I activate it and heat it up using my heat gun, and now I can go ahead and mold that onto the doll's body. I really want this to be kind of taut to the doll's body so that it can kind of snap in and out of it. I am taking this fabric, which is perfect, but it's also like the end piece of an actual fabric. As you can see, the paillettes, the glitter paillettes there, that's the main fabric, and I'm just taking kind of like the remnant part of it. So pretty much the plan is to drape this onto the doll's body on top of the swimsuit and then attach it, glue it onto the black warbler that we just prepared. I do want to drape this in terms of the hip area. We want to make sure that we are being strategic with how we're posing it. I do want them to have an Angelina leg moment because, hello, we have the robot leg, let's go ahead and show it off. But also I feel like that refreshes the overall solo in the spotlight look, and it's not too like prim and proper, I guess. When I was doing this, I felt like I was doing a drag race design challenge and also like a reveal, like an outfit reveal for some reason. It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. For the tool area, I am using 3 different kinds of tools, a really structured one, a softer kind, and a glitter kind. And I also kind of want to add a train-like effect to the tool, so it cascades down. Of course, we have to add the rose motif. The official Frankie Barbie looks like it has a bleeding rose look, and I really like the idea, so I thought of recreating it, but a little bit more glam and extra. I could not find any other flowers, so I actually stole this from my Isabela Madrigal custom doll. Don't tell her. But we painted it in red, and now I'm adding a bunch of red gems to it, because hello, why not? Honestly, I wanted to do this because hello, it looks really good. But I've also been wanting to try out the bleeding look using like crystals and gems. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to try out that look. And honestly, I am super obsessed. Now, of course, we can't have their legs be too exposed. So we gotta safety pin it a little bit for the added decor. And now for the opera-length gloves. I thought why not give them the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman vinyl gloves. I feel like it fits Frankie so much with the stitches and the imperfection look. And also it is helpful to have the gloves onto the doll's arms before we start cutting away, because even though this is supposed to be an imperfect look, we still want to be strategic with the imperfection, if that makes sense. And of course, using white thread for the sewing part is really paramount for the look. I do want to give them an extra set of hands that is going to have the gloved look. So let's go ahead and paint this black as well and kind of recreate the whole sewn up look. Now, I wanted to try this out and see if the dress is actually removable and, you know, It is like, hello, that is absolutely amazing. I cannot believe that this dress actually worked. The fabric is definitely super forgiving with how stretchy and thin it is. It was able to take the draping and the shaping of the dress, and I love how sparkly and edgy it looks. Now let's go ahead and make them green. I will be painting the skin on, but I do want to dye the arms and the hands for the sake of their joints. It's almost impossible to truly recolor the made to move joints with paint because of it cracking and just chipping, so I know that this won't truly match the muted green that I want. But at least the joints are going to be fantasy colored and not like human skin tone. I did get a little carried away with the green because it is giving Elphaba, the house, but you know, maybe I'm too excited for Wicked for Good. But now it's time to paint on the true muted green color. We're definitely going for a classic Frankie Stein and Frankenstein look for the skin. I definitely want the muted green color. And as you can see, the joints are actually cracked up. The paint did not stay since we've been kind of, you know, using the articulation. But luckily we actually dyed it, so the joints are green. It doesn't match at all, but I'm happy about it. Now let's go ahead and recolor the entire body and also their face. Of course, we have to remove the factory paint first, make sure we have a clean canvas. So I'm just using my acetone to do that. And before starting the face recolor, we want to make sure that we do spray the face first with a primer of Mr. Super Clear to really have those colors like adhere to the face. Now let's work on the visage. The face-up would also be an amalgamation of a lot of things. Vintage Barbie glamour, Frankie Stein, Bride of Frankenstein, and lots of drag. But of course, most importantly, lots of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. I was really excited when I was doing this face-up because I feel like it's been a while since I've done a face like this, like a stoic, see you next Tuesday, charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent style of face. And I just love how they look super angry. You know, I was referencing, of course, the Bride of Frankenstein face stitches and also the eyebrows, but everything else is just pure glamour, pure drag, just beauty makeup, and I'm just super obsessed with it. I love it so much. I think it's probably because it is super like draggy. It is also very like fashion illustration looking, and obviously definitely very like pinup inspired, so maybe that's why it just brings me so much joy personally. But yeah, I was really happy when I was doing this face up. For the glitter highlight, I'm actually using a blend of green, purple, and also silver, specifically for the eyeshadow part. Oh my god, this face is everything. I love the expression, the colors, and the overall vibe. Oh, and the sparkles, of course. Now let's add the stitching all over their body. I wanted to add specific stitches to really highlight the vintage glamour, and I thought giving them the cone bra slash overwire bra as stitches would look so good. I thought those stitches would really highlight the décolletage area super well, and it would really push for the vintage glamour look, like the boudoir look. I'm just super obsessed with overwire bras and also like the cone bra look. It's just so glamorous to me. I don't know why. I'm using multiple colors for the stitches and also kind of like the lines of the body. So I'm using olive green, blue, a little bit of purple, and of course black for the stitches. And I think that really adds dimension to the overall piece, the overall look, like all over the stitches and so on. And we also can't forget to give them some vintage red nail polish. For the legs, I wasn't really sure what stitches would look good with the overall design because I don't want it to be too much, but I also don't want it to be plain. And when I started drawing the upper thigh stitches, I thought, wait a minute, kaping mainit. Why not turn this into a vintage stockings? You know that I always love vintage themed stockings, especially the ones with a French heel in the back. And when I drew the line in the back of their leg, I was over the moon. First I was afraid. I was petrified. Very apropos actually, since women used to paint and draw lines down their legs to also achieve the nylon stockings look when it was rationed in the 40s. They look super elegant and I think it just fits the overall shape of the leg as well. I'm super obsessed. But now let's go ahead and continue blushing everywhere. Oh, and I'm also actually contouring some areas as well with a dark olive green color mixed with blue sometimes on those areas that needs to have the artificial shadow. Now it's time for the iconic striped swimsuit. I wanted to make the stripes more Thunderbolt looking like the official doll, but it didn't quite match the flow and the curve of the bodysuit, especially because of the top part and the bottom part. So I ended up just mirroring those patterns. I think it's still edgy and glamour ghouly, and that's what's paramount. Oh my god, this took a lot of layers to really get those sharp lines, but now let's go ahead and add some glitter to the black parts of the stripes. I think it would really push the glamour, the dimension, and also because I love sparkles. Oh my god, the swimsuit looks so freaking good! Ah! I am so in love with the juxtaposition of the glittered and the smooth parts. Now let's work on their accessories. Of course, we cannot forget about the neck bolts, and for this one I am just using a sewing pin because it is the perfect size for this Barbie scale. And I'm painting the robot leg first with a coat of black to really make the silver pop out. And for this part, I do want to not be super perfect with it anyway, because I do want those black areas to still be visible. I initially planned for the heels to have the Frankie Stein stripes, but because of the black dress and the striped suit, I thought it would be too much. Too much? Coming from me? I know, shocking. So instead, we're keeping the front very demure, and I'm painting the lightning bolt heel instead. Work in the front, party in the back type of look. And one thing we can't forget is the red bottoms. And now we can finally attach the leg and try it out, and as you can see, those subtle changes, those subtle tilting here and there really works super well with the posing. At least for me, I see it. And I almost forgot to add the staples look for the stitches, so over here I'm just taking my silver paint and we are adding that all over the body. For the glasses, I wanted to add a clear resin for it, but instead of the Barbie dark shades, why not mirror Frankie's heterochromia eyes? So I'm going to make it green and blue. I ended up making 3 of these and I was so over it. I kept getting bubbles and for some reason I did not have a lighter or matches in sight to remove them, so I'll probably remake them in the future, but nevertheless, they look super good and matches the vibe super well. Now it's time to dress them up and do some final touch-ups. I am super happy with the creation of this doll. I enjoyed the process of this doll very thoroughly. I was really having so much fun just combining the glamour of vintage Barbie and also the edginess and the freshness of Frankie Stein. Being able to do my take on these two iconic characters was just really fun and so inspiring for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and share the video. I would really appreciate it, and it would help the channel out immensely. Also, please don't forget to check out my fellow doll artists and their ghoulerific creations. All of them will be linked down below.
Qu'est-ce que je vais te nommer? Je vais te nommer l'amour. mon cœur. L'amour sans logique à la raison.